Hello there, here are some tips and techniques to help you with your virtual facilitation. The first one is to look into the camera when you're speaking. It really feels like you're giving eye contact when you do that to people watching, and it's very engaging. Wear something that pops against your background to make you stand out, because you've got to imagine, you're going to be one in a number of photos or tiles, images that people will see on screen. So wearing something that pops against the background means that people can easily spot you if they're looking for you. Fill the screen, so make sure that you are taking up space on your screen and that there's not a lot of background and a little bit of you, because again, people need to spot you easily. And if you're facilitating a lot, invest in a decent mic and webcam. So I use a Logi C920 and I have a Blue Yeti mic. So to buy both of those is around about £150 to £200 or dollars. You can get those on Amazon, but they really are worth it if you're doing a lot of facilitation. Use movement, expression, and your voice. If you're someone who gesticulates quite a lot and talks with your hands and, is very animated in person, then make sure that translates to what you're doing on camera as well, so that your personality can come through. Always start with housekeeping rules for your session, including if it's being recorded, so people know from the beginning what it is you're expecting from them, and just bring fantastic energy from the get-go. So if you're not particularly engaging, if you're flat, then that will rub off onto your delegates. You can really influence the mood of a room and the energy that your participants have from the energy that you bring to the session as well. Now, I always like to start with share screen turned off. I've joined as a participant so many sessions where the first thing that you just look at and it's staring you in the face is a big slide, where actually when your delegates are coming in, you want to see who's there and be engaging. So don't start share screen until you're ready to actually start presenting. I always make sure I have some time up front to welcome people as they're coming into the session, to say hello, ask them how they're doing, show that I'm pleased to see them, and then start to show the slides or whatever resources we're using after a few minutes. I also like to keep running Zoom in the breaks as well. So delegates can turn off the camera and the mic and go and make a cup of tea, have a stretch, and that sort of stuff. But sometimes people like to come back early and have a chat. And if Zoom is still running, they've still got the facility to do that. And it's nice to have some social interaction in the breaks as well. Have an agenda and keep it on course. One of the housekeeping rules I always have is to ask people to share the air. And what I mean by that is for people who like to talk a lot to be generous and to share the time and make sure everybody else can contribute, but also it means that people who are a bit quieter make a bit more effort and have a greater proportion of the air time in the session as well. So sharing the air is a great housekeeping rule to have. And I also like to have a parking lot as well. So that could be a Zoom virtual whiteboard where all the things that come up that aren't directly related to the session but are still important, they all get captured so that people can see that they're there, and that really helps us to focus throughout the meeting. Now, I've said present to camera. When you're speaking to camera, look into the camera, but also take time to step back and scan the images of the people in front of you that you can see how they're behaving. Just check out any signals, any non-verbal cues, any body language that you need to pick up on. So I know some people think that you can't read people as well through a screen. I actually think you can read people with practice, but you do just need to sort of step back and scan the virtual room in front of you and see what's going on. Now, one of the challenges that people say they have is that they'll ask questions and they don't get a response. It's sort of like this tumbleweed, this stony silence. If you're going to ask people questions, particularly more challenging questions, give them a few moments to think about it in advance and give them fair warning that you're going to ask, and say, okay, so what I'd like you to do is take a couple of minutes, maybe turn your camera off, just think about this, make some notes, and then I'm going to ask for some feedback from you all when we come back together. So if you're finding that you're asking questions and you're not getting a response, try giving people some notice and giving people some space to think about that first of all. The other great thing to do is to practice how you're going to phrase and articulate your instructions and your activity briefings, because if you give really clear instructions, then people will obviously know more easily what to do. So practice that as well. And also give people written instructions. So maybe a slide, a handout, a file that you can post into the chat that they can download to check against what you've asked them to do and make sure they've understood correctly. Because some people like to have things in writing. They're not so good at focusing on the auditory side. Practice with the tech. So if you're not feeling comfortable with the tech, practice with it so that when you come to do your facilitation, actually it's just sort of happening intuitively, and you can focus on the content of the workshop. You can focus on the, where the discussion's going, and also creating that great delegate experience as well. Now, if there are tech glitches, everybody has them, everybody presses the wrong button. We all do it. I've been doing it, facilitating loads. I think it's about 2,000 people since lockdown now that I facilitated online. And I sometimes press the wrong button too, or the Wi-Fi doesn't work as well for a moment or two or whatever. It happens to everybody and it's absolutely fine. Everybody's really understanding. So just stay calm and sort it out and then move on, and it'll be absolutely fine. And what I also like to do is to set up as much as I can before an event to take the pressure off me on the day. So the more organised and the better prepared I am, the more I can enjoy facilitating and being in the moment with delegates. I really hope those top tips and techniques help you. There's just a small number of tweaks there that if you put, a few of those into action, you can really expand your confidence, your creativity, and the impact that you have when you are doing virtual facilitation.